Hello and welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, I'm your host. I'm the founder and editor of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples, and the editor of UNVEILED magazine, your go-to bridal glossy. So in this show, I meet Kim, a wedding planner and florist behind the brand Dreamboats and Carousels. Kim is your lady when it comes to organising an incredible big day, and I know there's a few of those on the horizon. So let's meet her. Okay, so hi Kim and welcome to Wedflics.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Although we're recording this just as the UK has gone into full lockdown number 3. So we're going to address that a little bit in this episode, but the content of this episode will be completely relevant for anyone listening later too, because we're going to deal with small and big weddings when weddings can happen. So everybody, this is the lovely Kim. She's an UNVEILED network member and she is a wedding planner and florist. And we can't wait to hear all about your business, Kim. So do you want to start off and introduce yourself and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So hi everybody, I'm Kim. I started Dreamboats and Carousels a couple of years ago. It began just as wedding planning solely, where I helped couples with anything from assistance on the day to some partial planning or just the full works. Also destination wedding planning as well, so any abroad weddings, and it's kind of developed from that too into offering floral design as well. So that's something really exciting that came in at the end of last year. But yeah, it kind of all started when I was planning my own wedding, really. That was where I fell in love with weddings. And I think just the combination of skills that I'd had, the logistical side, the organisational aspects, and then my creativity as well, it just was a perfect match. So I thought, this is what I want to be doing. This is the career for me. So yeah, that was how it was born, really.
I love that. So what did you do before? What were you working on prior to doing your own wedding?
So I was a commercial manager for Network Rail, so it was very different. But I mean, buried in spreadsheets and a lot of forecasting and things like that. So there was a lot of useful stuff which I think I've taken from it, really. And has helped me with the planning aspects and everything organisational and all the commercial acumen and things like that.
You're still buried in spreadsheets, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Spreadsheets are a little bit more exciting, so yeah, exactly. There's a lot of crossover, which has definitely helped. But yeah, my passion wasn't in that, and it was brilliant to sort of have that drive and think this is what I want to be doing, and I want to be helping people with their weddings.
So with your wedding then, a destination wedding?
It was, yes. It was in Spain. And yeah, it was, we'd always decided we wanted to have an abroad wedding, but I think it was more just, we actually chose to have a small wedding, and like people are obviously being forced to at the moment, but we chose to have a small wedding and it was absolutely magical. And I think that's probably why I've kind of advocated for everyone being as positive as they can in this sort of scenario, because small can be special. I know you've said it as well, and it's hard if it's not what you originally planned, but I also think that there are benefits that you don't get with a bigger wedding, and not feeling like you can spend equal amount of time with people, which you wouldn't get with a 200-person wedding, or being able to cover an open bar for all your guests, which you maybe wouldn't have done before, and things like that. But yeah, we absolutely loved our wedding abroad, and it's a holiday as well, so
yeah, it absolutely is. I used to be, when I got married, we had quite a big wedding, and I was very much like into that whole thing, like sort of almost a bit princessy, I guess, with it, really, in terms of kind of expectations. Not bridezilla, princessy.
Very different.
I'd like to draw the difference in there, but having worked obviously for 10 years since in the wedding blogging and magazine world, and seen all different types of weddings, from like a 2-person elopement right through to the absolutely huge kind of 1,000 people celebrations that they have in some cultures, I think that you're absolutely right. I think there is a place for whatever you want on your day. And I don't think the smaller wedding should be discounted as something you do because of budget or because for whatever reason. I think that it's a really nice choice to make. And it does up the luxury factor. It does up the kind of exclusivity factor and also kind of the chill factor a bit, really. I think it's a really nice choice. And I think that this year has definitely opened people's eyes to the potential of doing a smaller wedding, but doing it really, really kind of high end and beautifully, which is definitely where you can come in, right?
Definitely. I was going to say the wedding, a wedding I did in December, they actually brought their wedding forward. So they were meant to get married in April and they just decided, you know what, we want to be married. We'll bring it forward. We still don't really know what the future holds, and small is special. So they had a 15-person wedding in December, and it was amazing. So yeah, I think just whatever's right for people, really, but small definitely shouldn't be discounted. Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to talk a bit more about that later, I think, as well. So let's talk about your services as a planner. Yeah. So what can couples who find you either via this interview or via our blogs or our magazine? Kim's everywhere at the moment. She's on every channel and platform. She's on every channel and platform that we have, and a lot of others, and she's absolutely nailing it on our own website and socials as well. So there's no excuse. If you want to book Kim, you will definitely be able to find her and her company Dreamboats and Carousels. So what services then do you offer a couple who could come to see you and say, okay, we need some help?
So it's quite a range because everyone's obviously different. So the biggest package would be the full planning. So that's ideal for couples who haven't really started the process at all yet. They've not maybe even found a venue. And then I kind of follow the process with them from their likes and dislikes, what kind of style of wedding they'd like, even sort of guest list rough amounts so you can source venues. And then I would help source all their suppliers, liaise with them throughout, and be there on the day as well, and all the run up to the big day. So that's sort of the biggie. And then the partial planning, which has had some interest from people who've booked quite a few of their suppliers, but they may be struggling with, especially this year, or I keep saying this year, I know we're in 2021 now, but
it's all the same.
It's all blurred. It's all one blur. People are struggling with suppliers that would have maybe been free normally, and everyone's 2021 is so chocker. So I've had quite a few people get on board with partial planning to help with the final details, and then that also covers me being there on the day as well. And then there's people who want to plan the whole wedding, which is completely understandable if they want to tackle all of it, but they want someone there on the day to just give them peace of mind, know that all their plans are being executed and everything's being dealt with. And that's sort of my on the day package as well, which I think is probably one of my most popular ones.
Yeah, I would say, with my experience, which is vast, that if you're considering anything at all, get Kim, but get someone to do that job. Because it's the same as well when you do like a style shoot or something like that. You always need a manager figure on the day to check things are going to time, to check everyone's doing what they should be, to check no one's kind of stepping out of line, there's no problems. Because the people, just like in a style shoot, when the photographer or the stylist needs to be focusing on what's going on in front of them, the manager can be dealing with everything behind the scenes so that they're not bothered, just like a wedding couple on their wedding day shouldn't be bothered by anything logistical. So I think as a starting point, that is an absolute must for anybody, no matter whether you've got a tiny wedding or a huge one. Definitely if you've got a huge one. But I do think there's a lot of benefit from having a planner right from the get-go, which I'm sure you'd agree with. Do you want to tell us, like, what are the benefits of going for the full package?
I think it's just knowing that someone knows your entire journey. They know everything really about your preferences and your likes and dislikes, and just someone to help hone in what you want for your day. Because I think you can easily get lost in the rabbit hole of Instagram and Pinterest and things. And a lot of people come to me and they've got so many ideas, but they're all different. And it's having someone to help bring that together is quite important. And just knowing that the suppliers that you've got have been brought to you from an expert as well, someone who can recommend them, and that they've already got that relationship, which makes everything else smoother and everything ticks along easier in the run up to the wedding too. And it's just, I think there is a misconception that having a planner means that you then just relinquish all control of your wedding day, but actually I think we can help guide people more, and you get more from what you actually want instead of sort of getting lost in everything,
in details.
And
From what you've said there, there's a few things, like that whole thing about relinquishing control is so not true. In fact, I'd say it's almost the other way. There's someone who was always very keen to listen to you chat about your wedding at all times. It's almost like an indulgent thing. It's a lovely thing to have someone, a professional who, you know, is, and planners work like night and day, really. You're always available. And for a couple to really indulge that planning process, it's not taking it away. It's just adding an extra level of glossy loveliness to the experience, and someone to do the hard work for you. You're still making all the decisions. I think it's a real luxury. And also, I think the whole point about kind of couples getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty is one that happens to the best of us. And what a professional can do is advise on the choices and the spend, crucially, that is going to make the most impact. So get the most for your money. So I see a lot of wedding couples get really kind of consumed by their favors, like what to get as favors for their friends and family. Favors, like, you know, they're an important part, but you shouldn't be spending thousands on them. No. You can do something that, you know, you can do something that on their day is going to be really impactful and great with that money instead, as an alternative type of favor. Or I'm just using this as an example. There's many, many examples of this. But it's easy to do what you think you should be doing rather than what you can be doing.
Yeah, I think as well, a lot of couples at the start, they maybe do a lot of research and see, oh, I've seen this sort of plan for you should spend X, Y, Z on this and that. But actually, if you want to make your wedding favours, but then spend more on live music, then that's what you want to do it. But I think, it's definitely having a planner from the start is someone who can, like you say, it is an indulgence. It's a positive, and it's someone who can help you get more from your whole wedding planning, the whole experience as well. And they can deal with the stuff that isn't maybe as exciting. As, you know, if you've got to source equipment for a DJ, or if you're hiring, you know, that's maybe not as exciting, but it's something that needs to be done. And then you can still have the exciting choices of, which photographer do I choose out of this selection and things like that. So it's a great thing to have us from the start, definitely.
Those budget checklists that you talk about, I hate those.
Yeah, me too.
I'm proud to say we've never published one of those in our whole 10 years of being a wedding blog. We've never put like prices on things, because I truly think that it depends on your preferences, how much value you attribute to each bit of your day.
Yeah.
So like, who is someone else to tell you should be spending 2,000 on a photographer, you should be spending X amount on flowers? I think it's, they're there for a guideline, but I think some people do take them literally.
Definitely, yeah. It's just what you want to prioritize. So if there are certain aspects of a wedding that you just don't really mean anything to you, then don't spend money on that just because a spreadsheet says that you should, or a guide says that you should. If you want to put that money somewhere else that you and your guests are going to enjoy and remember, then why not? Then do that instead. I've been in my bonnet about those as well.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm glad you haven't sort of prepared one. You're like, here it is. I should have checked that in advance. But no, I knew we'd be on the same page. But so also the supplier thing. So bringing kind of trusted suppliers to the table is a really crucial part of it, and it's where a planner can also really add some value too. How do you make those connections with your fellow suppliers? Like, how have you forged those relationships?
It's a combination really of working on weddings and also from doing styled shoots. So I think even if it's not a real wedding, you can really get quite a good feeling about how someone works, and also just little things like how responsive they are to emails, and that that their work might be brilliant, but if they're not very responsive, or if you're struggling to tie them down and things, you think, oh, I don't want that stress near the wedding day. And yeah, you just see who you like to work with and what kind of styles that they offer, because everyone is different. And I'll have a great selection of makeup artists that I've worked with, but a certain couple might come to me and I think, okay, maybe 3 of those would be great for what they would like if they want really subtle makeup, or whatever their style is. So it's kind of just collecting that bank of suppliers that I want to be working with and want to be recommending, and then tailoring my suggestions based on the different the different clients that come to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, everyone does a good job, but it's being able to match the suppliers with the couple that's where your kind of experience comes. And I think you do right with I know you worked on a lot of style shoots post lockdown 1 when we were able to work again. And I think that was a great idea, because it's really kind of built on, it's freshened up your knowledge and kept those relationships going, hasn't it?
Yes, definitely. Especially when right at the start, when no one was doing weddings at all. And I think it was just really important to stay networking and keep doing creative things, and I mean, it's all great experience for anything that would happen at a wedding as well. So it is, they've been really, really good for that side of it, and connecting with all the suppliers.
So while we're on this kind of subject, talking about style shoots, often we use them for kind of predicting trends and trying out new stuff and seeing how things work before we sort of let them loose on wedding couples. Are there any kind of big trends you see coming for the year ahead? Can you pick any?
I think people will go bigger on styling. I think we've not had celebrations for a long time, and people just want a spectacle. So I think they'll go a bit more daring than traditional, but maybe they'll go traditional and just a bigger version of it if they want to do something a bit more extra. So yeah, I think people aren't going to hold back as much on that side of it. I also think even if you weren't as fussed about live music before, I think the fact that you've not been around anything like that for so long, people will have.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have they'll have them for the ceremony, they'll have them after the aperitif, they'll have them in the evening. I think there'll be a real emphasis on that, because it'll bring people together, and it's sort of the glue for celebrations really, with music and things like that. So I think there'll be live music will be a lot more a focal point and an essential, maybe as well as a DJ or instead of. But yeah, I think they'll come back, and they'll come back big in styling and in what people want from the day.
I like a bit of oomph in the styling as well. I like a big kind of statement piece, and then it kind of, but I like that to filter through the rest.
So it's all cohesive.
I like consistency in everything. That's my kind of stickler thing with the work I do for the magazine. I like it to be consistent at all times. But I think that's really nice. So just kind of up the ante a bit with the sizing, like supersize things and get more of things and more blooms, and I think that's lovely. And what about kind of colours? Have you seen any colours coming through that you like the look of?
I think there'll be less of the typical pastels. I think it might be a bit bolder. But I also think the classics like white and greens just don't ever, in my opinion, they don't ever go, and they are timeless. So again, whether that's done but on a bigger scale, huge floral arrangements with greens and whites maybe. But I think people are going to be less afraid to do something a bit more daring with colours and
I agree. I think we will still see the pastels stick, but I think we're going to get kind of, this is just kind of chatting about my favourite topic, so bear with us, we may be a few hours, but I think we've got kind of 3 colour pots. So I think we're going to have like the rainbow brights, not necessarily rainbow, but you know what I mean, like the sort of bold fiesta colours is what I describe them as, that pot of colour. I think then we'll have kind of like the pastel nudes, those sort of girly colours. But then I think we'll have sort of like earthy colours, so like olive greens, sort of moving on from that terracotta pampas grass vibe. I think we'll have like olive greens and kind of
like that.
Deep nudes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm feeling.
Sounds like a bit of a combination of the nudes and then the rainbow as well. It's sort of somewhere in between that, isn't it?
Yeah, almost kind of the sort of colours you'd see like in the desert. But you could also make it woodland too. I don't know if I'm making it
like Moroccan-y.
Yeah,
like Moroccan woodland.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's
the new trend.
That's what I'm feeling at the minute, and we shall see. I mean, I'm going to make that a thing, so we will see it.
Heard it here first. I do wonder if with postponements, if that's made people change their colours that they would have had before and the styling, or if they've maybe had everything organised already and they're still going ahead with that and adding in other elements. Or I do wonder if there'll be normally every year there feels like there's more trends, but I wonder if there'll be slightly less because of almost a delay in the postponements.
Definitely. If we'd had this conversation in, say, September of 2020, I was like, I've had some of these conversations. I was all out. I had no ideas. Like, and I meant to have all the ideas. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think you'll have seen this, anyone who watches the other set of videos. I just go, I think they'll be very individual. Because it's so hard to tell when you're kind of just in your own bubble, and you're not seeing anything or being exposed to anything, and all the kind of style magazines and interiors magazines, crucially, are just churning out the same stuff because they're using old imagery. So we didn't see anything fresh for so long.
And we're not going places, people get inspired by travel and different cultures and things, and they're not seeing that as well. So it's interesting to see what 2021 will be like.
I think so. I think, though, now we've all had a bit of a rest. I think like the creative juices are flowing again. I think we're all just a bit tired. So let's move on and talk about your fairly new addition. So in 2020 you added another string to your bow and took some intensive floristry coaching.
I did.
And opened the floristry wing to your business. Why did you do that? Like, what was the thinking behind it?
I think when I started Dreamboats and Carousels, part of the reason why I didn't want to call it Wedding Planning with Kim or sort of make it pigeonholed to just wedding planning was because I always knew I would add something else to it. I'd said earlier on, I've always been really creative, so I knew it was going to be something creative. And then when we'd first gone into lockdown, I thought, it's flowers. I want to pursue that. I want to see where that takes me as well. Also, if I'm involved in setup on the day, then it does go hand in hand with that. So I just thought I'm going to go for it. It's a perfect time to train while it's quiet, and then I can hone my skill and keep practicing and keep creating in advance of 2021 when it all kicks off a bit more. But I think it was just the right time to do it. But it's funny because I wouldn't have had the chance to in 2020 if all this hadn't have happened. So it is there are small moments of gratitude, I think, sometimes that I try not to forget.
I think so. I definitely think so. I think that's been the case for a lot of people. I mean, it's been tough in our industry, but there has been chances to try new things. I mean, myself included, I've tried. Unveiled Network was something I wanted to do for ages, and because I got the chance to do it, it would have just been on the back burner. It would have been niggling at me all the time, and and it's been so amazing for this year and so successful, and I just can see it going places once we can meet again. I mean, imagine when we can meet again, how good it's going to be. It's like, I know, and in the minute we're all just zooming away, but it's going to be so good. And this same with your floristry side. It's something that you've been able to give time to and put the effort in. And I do think you will have already had almost a base level of knowledge in that field already because of seeing people do it, working with them on shoots, because I feel like I do. And I can probably like prep a table quite nicely or put together a bouquet.
It does help, I think, with sort of the basics and also with understanding it in the weddings context as well. So it didn't feel like brand new at the same time. But it was great to add something that was extra creative to what I can offer as well. And it's just nice because it is a brilliant variety now of people booking me just for flowers, people booking me for my planning help, people doing both. So it's, it sort of keeps everything interesting, and
it's great. So I have to ask before we go on, why did you pick the name Dreamboats and Carousels?
Oh, I do love it when people ask. So it was actually the pedigree name for my dog.
That's so sweet.
That was where it came from. But when I was thinking about what I wanted to call the business, I knew I wanted something that was imaginative, something that was fun, something that just conveyed magic, really. And the name seemed to fit. And then I thought, well, I love my dog, so this is just brilliant. This is a perfect reason to call it Dreamboats.
What's your dog called? What's her non-shown? Pardon? Millie.
Yeah. Not quite Dreamboats and Carousels, but she was very old, and sadly she died at the start of the year, just before lockdown. Just another stab at 2020. But it's nice because I feel like it's still like a reminder as well that she kind of inspired me to call it Dreamboats.
Oh yeah, and what a good name. I mean, like, to that breeder, hats off to you.
Well done.
They should go into some sort of marketing think tank, because actually I think that it does perfectly kind of portray what you're about without, like you say, sort of pigeonholing. So I think it's a really good brand name, and it really sticks out. First time I heard it was when we worked together on the magazine. I think. And I was like, oh, loving that name, as I entered it into my spreadsheet.
It's definitely different. I think
lovely.
That's it's definitely different, and I do really I can't see ever wanting to change it, really. It's just it'll be stuck with me now, I think.
It's really nice. So okay, I think your styled shoots are, I could probably pick them out if I was given like I think I could. But I'm a very visual person, so I'm quite good at that sort of stuff, like, you know, identifying different photographers or whatever. But you've definitely got a style, I would say, to your work.
Excellent.
What do you think your floristry will have a signature style in the same way?
I think it comes hand in hand, because when I was sort of coming up with the concepts for the styled shoots last year, that the vision always looked how I was expecting it to look, and there is that feeling afterwards, you think, oh, I did wonder if it would all come together, and it has. And I think the flowers will just integrate into that perfectly. I think it's only maybe if I haven't been involved as early on, so I maybe don't have as much input into the styling direction, if that's already been decided at a wedding. But I think ultimately it's just anything that's contemporary or relatively modern and stylish, and I always like a bit of a fun element as well. So I'd like to think that will carry on through into my floristry as well.
Yeah, because I think sometimes with like styled shoots and styles of photography and floristry, sometimes it can go a bit too forward thinking, like a bit too
like themey.
And maybe a bit too boundary pushing. Whereas I feel like your work does push boundaries and is fresh and new and contemporary, but it's accessible.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to achieve as well.
Yeah.
Something that people think, oh wow, that's a bit different, but also something that they could easily want to choose. It's not so out there that it doesn't appeal. A bit like how you'd look at a magazine and you think, oh, I like those clothing, but maybe catwalk is a bit much. That's kind of how I would feel.
You are the perfect fit for our Unveiled magazine, because the style is just so spot on. So that's probably why I've noticed you so much, because it really resonates with me. It's my taste as well, is to do things fresh but keep them usable, you know, within the realm of what you'd actually use for a wedding day. I think is so key. So I love it. I love your signature style. So okay, let's give some advice now. So we've talked a lot about styling, things like that, but you are very good on the logistics too. So couples who are right now in lockdown 3, what advice would you give to them about planning their wedding? Like, should they be getting on with it, or what should they be doing? How can they be planning at this stage?
I would say to everyone at whatever stage you are, carry on planning, because I think we don't know exactly what's around the corner, but I do think I feel comfortable saying we're probably at the last big hurdle to get over. I feel like there is a small end in sight, or it's only going to get better after the next couple of months.
I agree.
And gradually improve. And I just think, you know, we need something positive to look forward to. And if planning your wedding is that, and also I've had quite a few people recently who've been in touch, and they are struggling because they put planning on pause with everything that was going on, and now they just cannot get suppliers at all. And I think it's that people are filling up still, people are continuing to plan, and the weddings are going to happen again. And so I just think it's really important to keep planning.
I mean, that was my advice during the first lockdown and the second, and it's still really relevant, more so now because there is the vaccine and because, you know, there is a way out of this. So the reason I kept saying it last year was because of that supplier thing, because I know that even if those weddings for you know, January, February this year have to move, well, they do have to move, those suppliers, they're going to give preference to those people already booked over like the fresh people, because, you know, when you work with a wedding supplier, we are real people and we get to know the couples, and, you know, there's a rapport there, and people look after people they know rather than, you know, just a new email inquiry. So it's really important to kind of get your name in that hat and get talking to suppliers and really enjoy the process as well.
Yeah. And we might not be able to do anything right now, but in the relatively short future, we are going to be able to. So I just think, get planning your ideas, get planning who you want to work with, and just keep your wedding in mind, and don't let what's going on squash it, really, and take that away. That would be my main point, really, for people.
I mean, it's quite a nice distraction, isn't it? It's
stick in wedding world instead of pandemic world.
Get yourself some magazine, a copy of Unveiled. There's still a very limited amount from last year. We need to get on with the next. Get yourself a copy of Unveiled, get yourself on Pinterest, get yourself on Brides Up North. Other wedding blogs are available, you know. It's better than a box set for sure. So I agree, keep on planning. And what about for okay, so what would be your like must do's for, say, like a couple wanting a smaller wedding?
For anyone wanting a smaller wedding, I would say I would probably say you can afford to make the choices that you would maybe be restricted by if you have a big guest list, like we were saying at the start. Really, you have the luxury to be able to say, well, actually, my husband to be would like guitar, but I would like a pianist, so why don't we have both at some point throughout the day, because we're having a smaller affair. I would say just you've got that luxury then to be able to have a little bit more of what you'd be able to achieve with more people. I would also say if you're wanting a small wedding out of choice, then brilliant, but also if there are people that you know and maybe would have loved to be there, consider something maybe like a videographer or someone that you know people can watch the video afterwards and still feel a bit of a part of, if they're a relative that you're not as close to but would really appreciate, sort of that kind of thing. I also heard of quite a few people in lockdown, or not lockdown, in just during last year, who were having smaller weddings, who still had their original large cake order, and they would drop round the pieces of cake to people who couldn't be at the wedding. And I thought that's really nice that they didn't downsize that, and people still got quite literally a slice of the day, so they got to still be a part of that too. So I would think if you're going small, maybe still think, are there people that you would like to have some kind of involvement with, or to have kind of a connection with the big day still?
Do you think, so if you were planning your own wedding now,
yeah,
for say summer to autumn 2021. Okay, now I know you haven't got a crystal ball, and neither have I. I'm just mooting it here with you. I'm just,
right.
I've gone a little bit off the question sheet here. But if you were planning your own wedding, would you plan it small, or would you plan it as usual now?
I think that's really hard because I planned small anyway as well. But
Okay, yeah.
I think if I've been telling people plan as you already were, but just have backup plans or get some sort of contingency in place. So I always like to think a plan B shouldn't be worse than a plan A. It's just an alternative. So I think it's important to have a reserve option that can still be brilliant, but just involves different factors. And if that's simple, but you do something different that makes it special still. And autumn is a long time away as well.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
I think it's like the time that we've gone through again, isn't it? So it's
oh my god. No.
Not again.
Seriously though, it goes like that though at the same time. It's really strange. Time is weird at the
both
minute.
dragging and speeding past. How
really odd. Like I still feel like it should be like June of 2020, but I'd agree. I would plan now the wedding you want, whatever size it is.
Yeah.
And just have some contingency, because like we've been over it. We know small is great. We know big is great. Just like do what you want.
Yeah.
I think is the message really, because I think we are going to get there. And
I agree. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. And summer to autumn time, with my own attempt at a crystal ball, I do think that bigger celebrations than we've been able to have are going to happen. And I think keep planning with what you want, have a backup.
Right. So Kim, what if somebody, I know they might have to wait for this, but what if somebody fancies a really big wedding? What would be kind of the logistical processes that you'd suggest that they adopt to put them in the best possible position to make it run smoothly?
I think having it, if they want a very big wedding, having at least one person there, whether that's multiple planners, to help on the day and to kind of refine a timeline leading up to it. Also, they'll have been involved then with the suppliers and can start liaising. I think that the more hands on deck for a bigger wedding, the better, because it's also more suggestions and from professionals who can help guide. We're in the industry, we'll have a better idea of what could work or what possible restrictions might be or have been before. I think just the involvement of a planner of some kind, from whether it be from now, if you're planning a very big wedding, I think the sooner the better to get them on board, and then just discussing all your different contingency plans with them. I think I've spoken to quite a few people about outdoor weddings, with that being more of a possibility, but obviously in the UK we're not really guaranteed nice weather, so it's plans with that, whether that be a teepee or just some kind of cover, which means you've got an option to still have it outdoors if there are rules about big weddings then, but they're permitted in certain environments. I guess it's just getting a professional on board to help discuss all your different options, what your existing plans are, how that could fit in with the environment that we're in now. Just tailoring it all to that and the possible outcomes. We can't really predict exactly. And people at the moment don't know if they're going to have everything that they had originally planned, but that doesn't mean that there aren't workarounds and ways of still involving elements that you maybe thought had to be ruled out.
What I love as well is we talked earlier about we thought one of the trends coming through might be kind of the upping the ante in terms of like the styling pieces and things like that. I love that those styling pieces that you traditionally recommend for a bigger wedding, one of my go-tos would be, get a big centerpiece for the ceremony that then you can use behind your top table, and go for big kind of high and low centerpieces for the guest tables and this sort of thing. All that kind of traditional advice for a larger wedding. I love that even if you change your plans, because of this sort of trend for doing things more fabulously, you can just slot that all into your necessarily smaller wedding now. So you don't necessarily have to like think, okay, big wedding means this, smaller wedding means this, in terms of the look and feel. Yeah, there's definitely it's easier because of that. So.
I agree. Yeah, and I do think that whatever size wedding, I always like to get the most out of what you've got anyway. So if you have got some styling or something in your ceremony in a different environment, then bring that over to your reception. You might as well still enjoy it, and your guests still enjoy it for that part of your wedding day instead of just for the ceremony too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I also, on that note, I mean, this is not what you were talking about, but I also love when people put like vases for bridesmaid bouquets on the tables. Yeah. So that as well as the kind of florals in the middle, you then have like the bridesmaids all have like their little flowers by their I don't mean use them as a centerpiece, I mean in addition.
Yeah.
I just love that sort of touch, you know, that you might not have thought of, that, you know, people who've worked in this a long time can bring. I think things like that are really nice. But I know you were talking about moving the arch.
But still small as well.
I mean, just amp it up floral wise all around. That's what Kim wants you to do. But no, it's my advice too, and I have no bias whatsoever. So Kim, okay, I think a lot of people will have really liked hearing about your ideas and about how kind of on the pulse with things you are, and I think they can tell from your approach, and I certainly know that you're very like go-getting and true to your word and a hard worker, and I could recommend you without any reserve to anybody who wanted a wedding planner or a floral designer. So how would they find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you? And I will drop all the kind of necessary links in.
So on Instagram I'm very active, so it's just Dreamboats and Carousels, and the same on Facebook as well, or my website, which is www.dreamboatsandcarousels.co.uk. I've got my phone number on there and email, so there's plenty of ways for me to be found, so get in touch.
Perfect. So I'm guessing you're ready and waiting to get planning.
Always.
So
yes.
Keep on planning. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me.